Line up, MyFactioneers. Welcome to DustyDirk's MyFaction Bootcamp. If you want to take MyFaction seriously, which you probably shouldn't, seeing as not even 2K takes MyFaction seriously, but if you want to take MyFaction seriously, you have to be up to code, soldier. And who better to teach you their ways than a true MyFaction baller like me, DustyDirk. If you think you're baller at MyFaction, you don't know what baller is, because I can personally guarantee that there's no one better at pure-blooded MyFaction tech than myself. With that being said though, MyFaction is mostly just exploiting the game, which brings us to our first part of DustyDirk's MyFaction Bootcamp. It's a bugle. We're not even in MyFaction yet, and we're already exploiting the game. This is optional, but it makes MyFaction more enjoyable and doesn't make you want to rip your skin off. What you're going to need to do is go into your options right here, go into gameplay, set the difficulty to easy because what do we look like? We're not actually good at the game, we play MyFaction. And turn on held input for minigames. Now, this may seem counterproductive since this makes stuff harder, but it'll make it a lot easier and it'll definitely ease your muscles. I get sore after like 3 games. Press L1 again and go into advanced and you're gonna see these sliders. These are optional. I haven't done the science yet, I don't know how much they do, but the impact they make is very small. If you want to make a big difference, you go into the submission minigame. Human attacker, button press strength, make that go up, make the penalties go down. I think you kind of get the deal. Make the AI weak, make the human strong. And that'll work out perfectly. So now you're ready to play MyFaction. When you get into MyFaction, the first thing you see will be the live tabs. So we're not quite ready to play MyFaction, we still need to prepare. The first thing you should do if you're new is to input the locker codes. You do this by pressing the locker code button and you just put in a locker code. See, that one didn't work, but there are ones that do work and they'll be in the description of this video because I'm very helpful and I'm awesome. Next, you have your challenges. These are important because you have to do these if you want to get your tokens. The MFP quests, I mean, if you have a lifetime quest to do daily quests, of course you should do them always, but the token ones are the ones that matter. We'll get into that later. And here you have your lifetime challenges. Now these are the important ones, but they're also not quite as important as you think. Because you see all of these, I didn't even know that I got half of these. All of these lifetime challenges you can just get by just playing the game, so you don't have to worry. Something that you should be worrying about are these tokens that you're getting. Why do I value tokens so much? It's because tokens are how you get the good cards. Whew, that's right baby, we're talking about the cards now. The cards are the bread and butter of what makes MyFaction a MyFaction. For me, I blazed right past the emerald cards because I'm a beast and I go beast mode when it comes to MyFaction. But if you're strapped on tokens, that is okay because you only need 6 to get the best cards. You go down here, look at this, T-bar. You see, I don't own them because I wasn't really paying attention and I don't use the emeralds. What do I look like, a chump? I'm not a poron like you. You can see that he has sting like a bee. This badge is insane. This is the best badge in the game because the sting like a bee increases your attack damage, but it also has a hidden attribute in this game. That's right, hidden tech. Oof, we're getting advanced. This increases the amount of stun that you do to your opponent, which means that you can stun someone using a quick attack or a light combo. This is insanely useful because obviously you want to keep them stunned, and stuns are completely broken this year. Not in a sense that they're good, but in a sense that they make you want to dash your eyes out. Next card that you're going to want to get, you're going to want to get Sonya Deville. Obviously, these stats are horrible, but with the badge Sting Like a Bee, this carries immensely and will carry you through any women's match. I mean, there's not a lot of women's matches in MyFaction, but when there is one, you're going to want this one. As I've shown, these cards have absolutely loaded badges. But what do you do once you get 36 tokens and you're on to Sapphire? Oh, thank goodness I have a plan. We're in the Sapphire card rewards and we're looking for one thing. I think you already know what this is. I've made a lot of tweets about him. This R-Truth card will absolutely carry you. He's a striker, which means his quests are very easy to do. His stats are just mid all across the board, but let me tell you something. Sting like a bee and rabble rouser. This is undefeated combo. This is like bread and butter. It's like cookies and milk. This goes so well together. You stun him with Sting like a bee and you use your taunts. You might be thinking 3 taunts. That sounds like a lot. It's not. You're gonna be doing 2 taunts anyway. I'm selling this card to you like a car salesman, and this card's insane. It's gonna do everything you need. In the next card, you're gonna need this Maurice card. This card is special because it has another undefeated bread and butter combo, 2 god badges, Sting like a bee, but you'll always see it coming. That's another badge. That's why I call it god badge. There's always see it coming, rabble rouser, Sting like a bee. Those are the good ones that you want. And this will gain you special when you reverse an opponent's attack, meaning that you can hit signatures as fast as you can reverse. These 2 cards are absolutely cracked, and if you need more, there are more cards like this Shanky, which is very good because his theme song is banging. Shanky is also who you're going to be using if you want to play Faction Wars, because, you know, he can just submit really quick. Alright, soldier, you got the cards, you got the sliders, and now you need to play the game. But remember, first you gotta do your daily token quests. Those are important. Always remember to do your daily token quests. Okay, now we're ready to play, and it is very important that you know how to play MyFaction right. MyFaction is sort of like a MMORPG where you kinda don't know what to do unless you look it up, so you might be stranded. You may have put all of your stats into Charisma or something like in Fallout, but the first thing you need to do is beat Faction Wars. Look at my stats. I mean, they're insane. 120,000 MFP and 220 tokens. I could buy your neighborhood and still have some left over for hookers. Look at all these wins I have in Faction Wars. You wanna know how I did this? I do have to give this a Dirk ranking, and this is an easy 9 out of 10, also known as an A, just considering how good it is. But once you're done with it, the rewards are horrible. And speaking of horrible rewards, here are our next ones. Proving Grounds. Proving Grounds is very important because unlike last year, it's actually getting good content added on. As you can see, I'm kinda lacking in the Proving Grounds department. I was sick, so that's my excuse. Proving Grounds is very nice for getting tokens, and the rewards can get really good, and it only gets easier as you go up. You might think it gets harder, but ironically it gets easier. There's not much more to say. If you are playing Proving Grounds, you go in here, there are tower rewards. For the love of God, please ignore those. Taunting an opponent 230 times for some side plates will probably make you, go crazy. So it's best to focus on this, which is the epic 90 medal reward, and you get this through winning with the highest difficulty and completing all of the objectives. Now these can be pretty easy, pretty hard, but if you're using a striker, it should be easy every time. We already talked about this, but strikers have the quickest quests, and you gotta use them, gotta use the strikers. Overall, this mode is pretty good, offering good rewards. Surely 2K will add on more later. This mode, to cap it off, it's just such a solid A. Like I said before, Faction Wars and Proving Grounds are where the money is because you're building yourself up for the future. Because content is going to get added and you're not going to want to fall behind. Which, speaking of falling behind, brings me to the last mode, Weekly Towers. As you can see, I've definitely not done a lot of this because look at the rewards. For short term, this is not good, but for long term, you're gonna want to be doing these weekly rewards. Weekly towers get updated every week and are really good for just playing the game and having fun. Since the match types are less tedious than other modes and don't need MFP to pass, it can become a more fluent way to play the game, but you're definitely not going to become be sustained on these loot. This is sadly going to be a B- because honestly, I just can't see who gets excited over weekly towers. You're not going to be wanting to do this if your main goal is to get better. If your main goal is to get better, go win Faction Wars, and once they add more steps to the Faction Wars ladder, go win it more. And once you're done with Faction Wars, go play Proving Grounds. And that's it for the main modes. Earlier, I showed you live events. What are these? Well, the description says you leap into limited time special events for unique challenges and rewards. I wouldn't say they're the most unique challenges. They're just normal matches. But what makes them special is that they have Apex rewards. You see in that Otis card, you will never be able to get that Otis ever again. It's like weekly towers as well, with the way that it's like timed. But it's like if it was made by someone who had a functioning brain. If you are a collector, these cards are a must pick up. You gotta pick up this live event Otis, because he's never coming back. And if MyFaction 2K people do bring these back, well, you might be getting a funny package in your mail. Live events are pretty fun and they keep you on your toes. And while we're here, I just want to talk about this. What is this? A hard lesson with 2K and their games, and MyFaction specifically, is that you're gonna be disappointed. What is this AI-generated reward? And you need to play an Iron Man match against someone with an annoying moveset, and you know what you get for it? You get silver consumables, or at least that's what I think it says. So you're busting your ass 15 minutes a match, and you're getting silver side plates. You gotta make the call. I mean, is it worth it? Is it not? That's something you'll have to do yourself. And that brings us to our last mode. Quick play. Here's a fun tip for quick play if you want to get into it. Don't. It sucks.